Hello guys! Did you know that cement produces more pollution than all the trucks in the world? There are greener ways to make it, but customers are slow to embrace the change. The most astonishing thing about cement is how much air pollution it produces. Manufacturing the stone-like building material is responsible for 7% of global carbon dioxide emissions, more than what comes from all the trucks in the world. Leading cement makers is Lafarge Holmic in Switzerland and Votorantim Cimentos SA in Brazil. These are finding customers slow to embrace a greener alternative. Their story highlights the difficulties of taking greenhouse gases out of buildings, roads and bridges after wresting deep cuts from the energy industry. Policymakers looking to extend the fight against global warming are increasingly focused on construction materials and practicing as a place to make a further reduction. The companies are working on solutions, but buyers are reluctant to pay more. There are so far too little demand for sustainable materials, said Jens Diebold, head of sustainability at Lafarge Holcim. I would love to see more demand from customers for it. There is limited sensitivity for carbon emissions in the construction of a building. Significant share the cement industry CO2 emissions were more than all the trucks on the road in 2017. It's steel 5%, truck 6%, cement 6.9%, cars 7.9%, and others 74%. While architects and developers concentrate on the energy used by the buildings, it's actually the materials supporting the structure that embody the biggest share of its lifetime carbon footprint. Cement's contributions to emissions is especially immense because of the chemical process required to make it. About 2/3 of the polluting gases that comes from cement productions stem from burning limestone. Kilns are heated to more than 1400 degrees Celsius or 2,600 Fahrenheit, about 4 times hotter than a home oven set to the self-clean cycle. Inside the kiln, carbon trapped in the limestone combines with oxygen and is released as carbon dioxide, the most abundant greenhouse gas. A ton of cement yields at least half a ton of CO2, according to the European Cement Association. That's more than the average car would produce on a drive from New York to Miami, and a single mixer truck can carry about 13 tons. Hundreds or even thousands of tons go into the ordinary office buildings. Why cement pollutes so much? Carbon dioxide is produced when making a clinker, a key ingredient for cement. It's like the raw material going inside in the preheater, and the CO2 is released when material splits into calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. It's a rotating kiln, and this is the heat and clinker produced is coming out. The scale of the problem has drawn attention of research groups like the IEA and the Chatham House, along with policymakers from the C40, which represent the world's largest cities. The IEF estimates cement productions will rise 12% to 23% by 2050, though it could cut emissions with a series of actions. All the groups are looking for levers to prompt change. It's very difficult, Charlie Rogers, Deputy Mayor of London and a C40 board member, said in an interview. What we can do is to start to send a signal. We have got a new requirement for developers that they must develop a circular economy statement to show how they will reduce, reuse and recycle materials. Cement makers are responding but have found customers hesitant. Lafarge Holcim, the second largest maker by capacity, once launched a carbon-free product. It was more expensive and used a different production process. Customers were very price sensitive and did not show interest, Diebold said. Buyers acknowledge that the cost is crucial. There are cement products with low environmental impacts, but they usually cost more than normal ones, said Lennart Henris, the chairman of the Subcommission on Environment of the European Construction Industry Federation. There are many types of strict targets on the European construction sector, but sometimes there is a lot of the talking but little action. Cost is a problem because the greener forms of cement can cost triple what the traditional mix does. Researchers led by Brett Tempest at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte found a yard of geopolymer cement may reach $161, which the most commonly used Portland variety is $51. The 2015 paper on the PSI journal published by the Precast Concrete Institute. What comes out of the kiln is called clinker, the key raw ingredients of cement. It is a substance that, when mixed with the gypsum and water, binds with the gravel to harden and form concrete. Many companies are working to cut the amount of clinker in their cement, which requires new and sometimes untested recipes. Cutting emissions. Global cement industry targets more use of clean fuels and CO2 capture technologies. Initiatives. Cement production MT year was in 2014 4.171, and in 2030 it will be 4,250, and in 2050 it will be 4,682, and so on. Others are looking at substitutes. Those include the fly ash, which comes from the chimney of plants that burn coal, or slag from steel making blast furnaces. They trigger a chemical reaction and form that's known as geopolymer binder. Geopolymer cement has performed advantages and a huge sustainability edge of traditional mixes, according to the Cameron Coleman, Chief Executive Officer of Wagner Holding Corporation, which is based in Toowoomba near Brisbane in Australia. Wagner has poured its friendly concrete for taxiways at the Brisbane West Wellcamp Airport, as well as the foundations and wall panels for the terminal building. While it's gaining customers, Wagner's will need more regulators to sign off on using the material in more applications. The availability of slag and fly ash is also a challenge on some countries. The alternative eco-friendly binder technology reduces the carbon emissions associated with normal Portland cement by 80 to 90%, and also has much lower embodied energy. Coleman said by email, "We have been working with leading companies in Southeast Asia, New Zealand, India, Europe and Middle East who are extremely interested in adopting this technology. Place making rapid progress, partly because of the availability of raw materials such as pozzolan, a type of siliceous and aluminous material that results in products with the same technical properties as the traditional cement. The country has one of the lowest clinker content in the world for its cement, below 70% in 2014. That compares to its 75% in Europe. Brazil aims to reduce the ratio to about 50% by 2050, according to Alvaro Lorenz, the global director of sustainability at Votorantim Cimentos, one of the largest cement producers in Latin America. That strategy won't work for long in Europe and the United States, where fly ash is the main clinker substitute and coal plants are closing. There, the focus is on efficiency and using fossil fuel alternatives for heat. The European Cement Association says its producers already get 44% of their energy from cleaner sources and wants to raise that proportion to 60% by 2050. Instead of using coal, it's creating heat with the use of tires, mineral oil and industrial waste. Pollution costs. The carbon allowance of Europe have surged in recent years. The next frontier will be using carbon capture and storage devices to siphon off pollutions and trap them underground permanently. That technology isn't in widespread use and will be expensive, hundreds of millions of dollars for each factory, but it could reduce emissions 80% by the middle of the century. Cement makers knew that they must act not only because pollution rules are tightening everywhere, but also because the cost to emit CO2 has pressured their revenues. Companies are paying more for carbon allowances, which is a serious cost impact for the cement industry, said Cohen Copenhagen, Chief Executive Officer of the European Cement Association. A limestone and clay mix sits in a pile inside a warehouse at Lafarge Holcim, a cement plant in Switzerland. What's less certain is the desire of developers and construction companies to buy greener products. Without actions from policymakers, green cement may remain a low priority for the builders, as said Tiffany Was, who assesses energy, technology and policy on the IEF industry team. I don't believe the pressing need for decarbonization has probably reached the construction industry in many parts of the world, Wes said. Thank you so much for watching, please like and subscribe. See you.